So, and how could anybody disprove it? The only one that knows is you. But because you value your conscience, you see, so it's more than just the legal implications, ramifications. You can get away with that, but it's the moral hazard. So yes, you're going to teach your kids. You're going to teach your kids, but the teachers too. Okay, so if we expect parents to teach, so that means the teachers had a moral upbringing and taught to avoid moral hazard and taught how to read the end from the beginning. So who wants the legal implications? You might be tried for murder. Some really smart lawyer might say, "Hey, no, 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 no." So you get some psychiatrists just back him up. Say, "Yeah, no, this guy planned it. He was seething with hatred for this dude. No, this is his plan to provoke him. Look the way he provoked him. Look what things he was saying." So you can get away with it, but it's still going to be a lot of big fat pain in the ass legally, right? What the religion, this bad religion, can impose on you. Okay, and I call it a bad religion because it's a lot of the laws and rules, regulations, ordinances, et cetera, are baseless. Nobody's spending any time trying to tell you why you should do this. Okay, they just do it. You must pay to park, for example. It's a minute little trivial thing, but you know what? I mean, hey, it's serious because you have to pay bail, right? Essentially, a penalty, a fine. You'll be punished if you don't follow that law. And that's a big deal. You understand? That's authoritarian. Anytime you start telling people how to run their lives and start snatching up their freedom and telling them how, it's a problem. But if you make sense of it, if you teach them, you say, well, here's the rhyme and reason for this rule, this law, this ordinance. But how are you going to explain why other people are exempt? You understand? So listen, my friends, I'm just saying what I'm feeling from the Lord, from on high, from the Spirit of truth out there. Just God, I'm letting God work through me as best I can. I'm no prophet. I'm not a seer. All I'm feeling, my friends, is scared. I'm scared. We're really in it deep, okay? And we need to really stop and be reflective. It starts within ourselves. Say, God, please, if I'm evil in any way, displeasing you, a foul odor in your nostrils, okay, and I want to be a fragrant aroma in your nostrils, metaphorically speaking. So I want to please you above all. I want real happiness, not pseudo happiness, the way the world defines happiness. You understand? There's two distinct definitions for terms. You can look at it through God's point of view, or you can look at it through the world's point of view. You understand? That's it. And the top shelf view is always God's view. Okay, this is the boss, man. And we got to understand that. And the good news for the righteous is that God's will is going to be firmly established upon the earth. That's really good news. Okay. In the meanwhile, it's going to get hot in the kitchen because the demons don't want to relent. They're not going to. They're like drunken, snot-nosed, spoiled brat children in the candy store. At first, they were just swiping all the candy, and it was more of a hassle to bust them on it than just let them do it. So we let them get away with it. You know what? Take the path of least resistance. Let them just steal a few. We'll write it off our taxes when we do inventory. Right? So you understand how this could work. And this is essentially what's happened. So they steal a little. The money printing class, the Congress and the Senate, the Federal Labor Department's been in on this scheme because they couldn't have gotten away with this. The debasement of our money, the watering down of our money with this national debt, raising our cost of living. You understand what's happened here in this country, what I'm alluding to? But now they said, you know what? We see the writing on the wall. We know God's will is going to be established. But instead of relenting, instead of repenting, we're going to keep on chugging, and we're just going to try to scare the hell out of the righteous into thinking it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse in America, because we got to set an example here for what's coming to the rest of the world. We are deliberately impoverishing you. Do you understand? Yes, we want this great division between the haves and have-nots, this great wealth imbalance. You understand? If the Labor Department just simply every year, if the cost of living went down, lower minimum wage, okay? It's a two-way street, my friends. It's supply and demand. It's basic capitalism, Okay, what I'm talking about here, just fairness. We got to play this game called capitalism with money. Let's at least play it fair, for God's sake. I mean, who could argue with that? But they haven't done that. That's why I blame the Federal Labor Department. They should have been looking after the interests of the federal minimum wage workers to keep America cohesive. It should be the same in every single. There should be no city, no state setting it. No. We want to maintain the federal minimum wage to keep America united, to keep it from being balkanized, divided. Do you understand? Is that really, am I so bad? Am I so radical to say that? That say every year if they just come out and either lower it or upper it, and here's the basis. That's all they had to do. But if there's market manipulation, they see it. They see the cost of living going up for no reason. They say, wait a minute, it was going down. The worth of people's money was going up. Also, what happened? We got a disruption in the supply chain. Okay, but they know how to read the writing. It's the cost of living that we're talking about here. The Consumer Price Index, the CPI, we've all heard of that. The market basket of goods, especially at the top of that list of market basket of goods that we have to get or want to get, is essential human needs. And this is why I take such great umbrage with this BS, because we're talking about manipulating the cost of essential human needs. Okay, so all you need is one area of your life, one expense that you can't get away from, like housing. You understand? Shelter, it's an essential human need, a basic essential human need. And to manipulate the markets and start rigging prices and colluding with different special interest groups that profit from raising your cost for shelter, your cost for housing, debasing your money. So the worth of your money keeps going down because they want more of your money. They want more of the fruits of your labor, what you're pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into. So the minimum wage workers, how can anybody argue that they're not worth a fair pay? I'm not trying to take that from anybody that's learned. They got all this education. That's great. I'm pro-education. Learn as much of whatever you want and change it up anytime. Whatever you find a new interest, great. You learned everything about that. You're satisfied that's not the direction you want to go, or you went for a while and it was great, but you want to try something else. Yeah, I'm down for education. Okay. But in what evil world would you justify, would you want to rationalize when you know that God, our parents are watching this unfold, that we're all equally beloved children? Why would you cheat somebody? Why would you subjugate them? Why would you marginalize them? Why would you steal their basic dignity? Why would you do this? Why would you create all this desperate poverty in America, the homelessness? And then we call ourselves the richest country in the world. People flaunt they're rich. They think they got it going on. They're driving their Mercedes or their BMW or whatever, McLaren, like Ice-T. Yeah, you think you're somebody? Is God impressed with you? That's the way I'll be impressed. That's the way when TMZ's reporting on them, if God's impressed, then I'll be impressed. Because other than that, it's a load. It's all the definition of worldly success in this world. That's what it's all about. Just live for today, man. Ignore your conscience. Ignore true reality. Well, you're ignoring true happiness. Attaining the promise, okay, if we're found worthy and deserving, we will receive eternal life in paradise. Not this crap hole. And his yoke is easy, his load is light. That's the path of least resistance. What Christ did for us on the cross. He paid the ransom, essentially the ransom for our sin. So no longer could we be condemned. That God knew, he let us know that he knows that if we had a second swing at the eating from this freaking fruit, this whatever, that's a metaphor, this knowledge of good and evil, we never would have done it. But now our reality has been tainted. It's stuck in our DNA. We're all screwed up, genetically screwed up from birth. It's in the bloodline, okay? And, it's taking these thousands of years to unfold, to work itself out. As God put a plan into action, it wasn't going to be easy. It was going to take a long time. There was going to be a lot of pain. But eventually the promise was there was going to be a renewal of all things. That means all the curse that befell the earth, women's childbearing pains going up, men earning their bread by the sweat of their brow, all that it's too hot, it's too cold, natural disasters, the fact that we became vulnerable to prey, to diseases, and we could die. I mean, it was just a horrific thing took place. A metamorphosis took place at this fall of man, the original sin, the subsequent curse, when God was sorry, is the way it's written, that he created us. He repented, it says, which is sorry, right? And we need to be sorry for neglecting our fellow human beings, understanding that Christ, what he said, we call ourselves a Christian nation. He said, whatever we do or fail to do, just as important what we're failing to do as a society, individually and collectively, worldwide. I mean, God's witnessing this. We're making him. And he sees what our apathy. If we don't care, we say, well, everybody's more evil than me. If I was in power, I'd change it. But what are we doing? What am I doing? I'm trying to influence the influencers. I've got no power. Beyond that, I don't even want power. But it's your responsibility. If you're in a position of power, and that's either through authority of position and hierarchy in this political realm, or if it's just because you got a lot of bread, okay? You're in a position of power, and God's watching. You're under the microscope. I pass it on to you because it's who I am. I just don't care. You know, I could enjoy greater prosperity, sure, but I'm spoiled rotten, relatively speaking, to some poor bastard that might die out on the streets tonight. A better man than me, suffering needlessly, and I'm supposed to go about my life and enjoy greater prosperity? No, I'll contribute. I'll give like crazy. But I tell you what, I could only enjoy it, okay? Because I mean, I'm just as worldly as the next guy. Yeah, I mean, who the hell doesn't like to drive nice cars and have nice houses and live that life and all the chicks and all that crap? All the guys, we know. Come on. Okay, so we get it. I get it. God gets it. Okay, but how do you enjoy it in any conscience? It's unconscionable. It's unconscionable that we spend a nickel frivolously, and you think I don't spend many dollars, many dollars frivolously, and I have compunction, I have guilt, I have shame, and it manifests itself, and I can't avoid it. I don't want to avoid it. I mean, I either face the music now or later. Okay, so we can live our lives as if we're facing Judgment Day every single day. A kid can understand that. Stay accountable in our own hearts and minds. It's all we can do. And say, oh, I'm after true happiness. So what's it going to take? It's going to take up freaking housing better men than me out there. And how many other guys can say that? How do you know they're not? How do you know? Have you met them all? What did Christ say? God, I mean, friends, listen. I'm living for the world of tomorrow, and we got to know what it's going to be like in that world, okay? And it's going to be one whole hell of a lot different. And tell you what, there can't be money. I don't care what anybody tells you, and I listen to really great people out there, very lofty-minded people. I was watching the Kaiser Report this morning, episode 1631, I believe it was. Max had a great guest on. Says a Christian guy, but he was talking about the efficacy of money in the Bible, how it's used, and how it's important, and all this crap to God, and But he didn't point out, they talked about the kicking over the money changers' tables, and what that was about. That it was the fact that he was doing it only because he was doing it in this church, but. He didn't talk about the fact that Jesus said, look, man, this is the root of not some of the evil. Okay, this is essentially what we're talking. It's the love of money, the root of all evil in the world. That's it. I mean, it's got to go in all its incarnations and all its manifestations. It's got to go. There can't be anybody there that sees any virtue in money at all. You've got it. That's the world of tomorrow. So you want to prepare your heart, your mind, your spirit, and don't say you can't do it. You have the vast power of imagination. So it's just about honesty. Imagine a world without any form of money. How would it work? Are you for it or are you against it? Have you ever asked yourself, Or does it make your head hurt and you've prescribed instead to an ignorance is bliss philosophy? Okay, because that's the state of affairs, my friends. And it scares me. It troubles me. It distresses me. And I'm not satisfied with not saying anything. And we all have to say something because all of our interests are at stake here. This is about where we go from here. And that's what we call salvation. What we're going to be found worthy and deserving of getting wherever we leave here. So we've got to care deeply, profoundly about our fellow human being. That's loving. That's just following. Christ simplified everything. He said, look, forget all the laws of man, forget all the commandments, and everything that you read in the Bible. All the laws, all the prophets can be summed up in this. Love God, honor God above